Hello, my name is Edwin, and I am the Youth Navigator at Chautauqua Works in Jamestown. Today, we're going to discuss the importance of dressing for success when going to an interview. The first thing we see is the importance of first impressions. Before going to an interview, there are many aspects of your professional appearance that need to be taken into consideration. You need to have a firm handshake, you need to maintain eye contact, you need to posture a well body language, and clothing and grooming are important as well. What kinds of clothes should you wear? Well, what is the position that you're interviewing for? Where are you applying? All those questions matter. What should I wear? Men, most professional is the suit and tie and dress shoes. Business and casual are considered to be dress pants, shirt, tie, jacket, dress shoes, and least professionals, casual pants, button down shirt, no denim or sneakers. Women, most professional would be considered a dress suit, and business casual would be considered shirt or pants and blouse. One of the rules of thumb is that you should never dress below the least professional, so that if you're going to not dress the most professional, you don't want to dress lower than the least professional. And that's important. You never want to go to an interview with pajamas or slippers or a ripped shirt and so on and so forth. Again, what should I wear? Women, you want to avoid wearing, skirts that are too short. You want to avoid shirts or blouses that show off your midriff. You want to avoid trendy colors, and so on and so forth. You don't want to wear sandals or open-toe shoes, stiletto heels, or Chuck shoes. Wear appropriate undergarments. Again, first impressions matter, and how you go into an interview is going to be examined by the person interviewing you. Now, you want to dress in conservative colors, navy, blue, or black, dark gray. Clothes should fit comfortably, not too tight or too big or baggy. Again, how an individual dresses on their personal time is completely up to them. But one thing we need to keep in mind is that if you're going to a job, you want to make sure that you best represent yourself, and that how you dress isn't going to be held against you negatively in getting this job. And so you want to dress as professional as possible. Now, grooming. Hair should be neatly trimmed, styled, and clean. Men should be clean shaven, or facial hair should be neatly trimmed. You want to look clean. You want to give off the impression, and you want to have the mindset of someone who is ready to work, eager, clean, and professional as possible. Clothing and jewelry. Clean, unstained, untorn, ironed clothing should be worn. This goes without saying, but you don't want to show up to a job interview with wrinkled clothes, torn jeans. Again, it depends where you're going, right? You should never go to an interview with a torn shirt or unironed clothing. But again, some places, if you're, for example, going to a tattoo parlor, uh, maybe it isn't a big deal that you're wearing sneakers. And it would be awkward if you're wearing a shirt and tie or a suit. So you want to keep in mind where you're applying for. For most situations, you want to dress above even what the norm would be. So if you were going for an interview, you're always safe to dress above what the status quo of that place would be. So you're always safe wearing a shirt and a tie. From that point on, you can dress, appropriate to the job, but the initial first reaction is that, wow, this person came here to impress us and to show off his resume and to show off his work ethic and his skills and quality and so on and so forth. And so you want to lay that first impression down initially. Fingernails need to be cleaned, trimmed. Women's nails should be at a conservative length with light or clear polish, if any. Again, you don't want to draw attention to yourself that just goes beyond the requirements. In this case, you want to make sure that your nails aren't too long. You want to keep them short, and the nail polish. You want to make sure that it's something that is just basic, plain, conservative colors. Nothing that is going to draw too much attention to yourself in that area. Now, hygiene. This is important. And this goes without saying, but you want to shower, you want to bathe the day of the interview, and wear deodorant. You want to avoid wearing too much cologne, perfume. You want to be aware of other people's possible allergies. And oral hygiene is very important as well. You want to make sure that you're brushing your teeth before you leave for the interview. All this is important. Again, if people can't handle the odor that's coming from your body in an interview, that very well may prohibit them from taking you on full time, right? Or taking you onto the job. And I'm not saying that that's right. That's just reality. If you don't have good hygiene in the initial meeting, and the first impression that you give off is that you're someone who has this body odor, or your hygiene is very bad, then that may prohibit someone from taking you on full time on the staff. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to those little details. Makeup. Women should not wear too much makeup. Again, this is just something that is considered a norm across the board. You don't want to have too much makeup on, and I'll leave that at that. And so, what if you're on a tight budget? You want to make sure that you are mixing and matching. In other words, working with what you have, or you want to make sure that you are. The third point here is thrift stores. You can always go to a thrift store. We don't have a closet at Chautauqua Works, but we can assist you as best we can with our services. And so, if you are, for example, going to an interview, we can help get you a voucher for you to get what you need for the job interview. And we can also help get you a service voucher for the specific job. So if you needed steel toe shoes for the job, we can provide you with a service voucher to purchase those shoes for that job. So that's something to keep in mind that we can talk about in more detail in our meeting. And you just want to work with conservative colors. You want to work with your grays and your blacks and your blues and things of that nature. So now that you're dressed for the interview, what's next? Well, these are some things to keep in mind of what to bring to the interview. The interview's name you want to make sure you know and you have readily available. You don't want to stand in front of the person interviewing you and not know their name. So you want to be as prepared as possible. That's important. You want to know the company's address and phone number. That's going to be important as well. You don't want to show up late to this interview because you didn't have their address, you couldn't find it, or if something happened and you were not able to make it to the interview for any reason, you have their phone number so that you can call in advance and let them know that you are unfortunately not going to be able to make it to the interview because of whatever the case is. Next is you want to have money for parking and cab and bus and payphone, or in this case, cell phone. So you want to make sure that you're well prepared. And that's the point. You want to make sure that you are putting yourself in the best position possible to anticipate anything that could go wrong. So you also want to bring extra resumes and references with you, just in case. Again, let's say you bring one resume with you and it rains, and now your resume is soaked and you can't give it to them, so you just decide not even to go. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you have backups. So, for example, you can bring a paper interview, and you can also bring a USB card where you have your resume on the USB. So just in case something happens, you show up to the facility that you're going to a little early, or you can even come into our office at Chautauqua Works jump on the computer, print out another resume, and now you have something to hand to them, and your references as well. So you want to keep that in mind. Your portfolio, if you have one, your portfolio is just an exhibition of some of the things that you've done, the work that you've done, your resume, and things of that nature. And you want to make sure you have a writing utensil, a pen, some kind of pen or paper. It's maybe a little pad that you can fit in your back pocket or inside your purse. These are things that you want to make sure that you're bringing and you're thinking about having in anticipation for something that could go wrong, or at least to be prepared for the unknown. Now, what not to bring? You don't want to bring your children. Again, anything that's going to serve as a distraction. You don't want to bring a friend or a spouse, and you want to avoid large purses or briefcases. Now, with respect to the children and a friend or a spouse, and I think the biggest thing with this is just you don't know how long this interview is going to be. Maybe you bring a child and the child you think will do well, and maybe they will, and the interview goes longer than you anticipated. Maybe now the child is getting irritable and you're not able to focus in on the questions that are being asked. And so it's just wise not to bring anyone with you. A friend or a spouse, again, maybe your friend drove you and they said, I'm going to wait. It would be best for you to communicate to them that, listen, uh, please just know that this interview could be longer than I think or that we thought it would be. So if you're waiting for me, just give me some time and don't rush, right? Because if you have someone who brings you and maybe they have their own plans, now you're subject to their time. And so you just want to make sure that you're communicating that as clear as possible with the person that brought you to this interview and or someone who's waiting for you outside. So it's best not even to bring someone with you. And again, avoid large purses or briefcases. You're there for an interview. You're there to best represent yourself, to sit down in front of the person interviewing you, and they're examining you. They are having initial thoughts about you. They're listening to your questions. And so, what I would encourage you to do is just be yourself, be honest, be someone who is prepared and who's got themselves together. You're not perfect. You have a lot to learn, as we all do. And you are looking forward to working for this organization, to contributing your skills and the things that you've learned, your experiences. And you're also there to grow and to be a part of a team. And so you want to give off that enthusiasm, that excitement about the opportunity to work for this organization. And you don't want to have anything that's prohibiting you or holding you back from representing yourself the best way possible. So these are just some tips. These are some thoughts. Please let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. If there was something or in our meeting, you can let me know if there was anything that really stood out to you or anything that you would add to this list. And again, we want to see you be as successful as possible in your interviews, on your resume, on your cover letter, anything that you need help with, let us know so that we can best serve you. Well, that's all for today. Thank you very much.